Welcome to WooCommerce Live, episode 8, our season finale for this season. I'm Jonathan Wold, and I lead community initiatives here at WooCommerce. And with me, as always, is my co-host, Noëlle Steegs. She's a developer and a volunteer here in the WooCommerce community. And today, we're going to be talking about payments and their connection to your success as a store owner. We know you have to be able to accept payments, right? What are the options available to you, though? And what can you do to improve the payment experience for your customers? We want to see you succeed. We also want to see you make more money, and payments is an important aspect of all of that. So we have a special guest who's going to be joining us in a few minutes to talk about payments. And as always, after the main show is over, we'll open it up for questions. We look forward to those questions. Think about what you want to ask and save them for the Q&A portion afterwards. Noëlle, what are some of the wins that we had in the community this past week?
Yeah, I've got some great ones to share with you all. First up is Tim. He works on an interactive product imagery, and you actually got to see this to understand what I'm talking about, but it's super cool. It's done using only photographs. And he posted in the group saying that, the aim of this is to reduce returns and waste, which is fantastic. And he's looking for online footwear brands and retailers that use WooCommerce to beta test this. So, if this is you or if you know someone, his email address is there and you can get in touch. I think it's really well done.
Yeah, and this is a great example of something I love to see when folks use the Facebook group to get feedback on ideas. There's a lot of folks making cool things that store owners can make use of. So this is awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, pleasure. The next one up is our own Leslie. Leslie is part of our volunteers, and she has moderated 491 requests in the past month. Which is just awesome. And I mean, she has a full-time job. She's a web developer, a mom, and then she still finds time to contribute to the community. I mean, how awesome is that? Thank you so much, Leslie. Big shout out to you. And last but not least, Christian, who I know who's a fellow web developer, and he also white labels for one of the agencies that I white label for. And I contacted him with this complex product filter that I was troubleshooting, and I was trying to customize. And sometimes you just hit a roadblock and you need someone else to have a look at things. And he very kindly just immediately jumped on it and helped me out, which was really awesome. So shout out to him as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. And that's something that we get to see. We always have to pick just a couple to show in our episode, but there's so much of that. People willing to take their time and energy to help each other out. And that's such a huge part of what makes open source and this ecosystem work. So that's awesome to see. And I want to give a shout out to our meetups. We just recently hit 100 active or 100 groups, and they are coming online quickly. There's fantastic meetups happening all around the world. So if you're not already a member of our meetup community, I highly recommend that. It's a great way to get a in-person when we're doing that. Right now they're all virtual, but a different kind of experience where right now they're happening mostly over Zoom, and you can meet folks in different parts of the world. So it's fantastic. It's been great to see all the growth happening there. Excellent. All right. So our topic today is payments in e-commerce. And most of you, if you're in the business, if you're in the e-commerce space, you're here to get paid and to make money, sort of as you're solving problems for the audience that you've chosen to serve. There's more to it, though. And if you think about your own experience buying things online, I think most of you, if you're anything like us, have had, your experiences will vary quite a bit, right? Like you've had really positive buying experiences, and you've probably also had times where you're trying to check out, trying to buy something online, there's extra steps, or maybe you're on a mobile device and it's a poor experience. There's a lot to think about when it comes to payments. And what we're hoping to do for you today is kind of give you a sense of what your options are, help you understand what options are available to you, particularly in WooCommerce, And what a lot of folks don't know is there's more options than you might realize. We're going to share an overview of those options. Then we're going to talk a bit about ways that you can optimize payments for your customer experience. There's different things that you can offer them and opportunities to think a little bit outside of the box. But before we do that, I want to welcome our guest to the screen. Britni, great to have you.
Hey, y'all.
So Britni McCotter heads up payment partnerships and manages payment operations for WooCommerce Payments. She's been with Automatic a little over right around 3 years now, and she holds an MBA in digital media management. Britni, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So you work with WooCommerce's payment partners, and there's a lot that you handle. There's a lot that happens there. What have been some of the highlights for you of working in the payment space generally?
I think payments is such an interesting space. It's very much ripe for disruption, and we're seeing really new creative ways for merchants to accept payments online. I think given the last year with COVID, for example, is a great example of how quickly the market shifted, how quickly even new payment tools and products came into the space. Fintech is continuously growing. Solutions are also paving the way for new trends, such as buy now, pay later, installments and financing, and even banking. We're seeing a swift shift to even more online banking and accessibility there.
Yeah, I've loved that. There's a lot of things happening. It can be very hard, in my experience, to keep up with everything. So appreciate all the work that you do to do that. What if anything has surprised you lately?
Yeah. One of the biggest surprises for me last year was watching how creative businesses got with shutdowns and moving their businesses online, maybe even traditional brick and mortar food and beverage places, for example, now taking just online orders for takeout. That's been really fascinating to see the creativity, especially in the WooCommerce community of these merchants, how quickly they've adapted to change their business models and still reach their customer and expand their customer base. And I'd say the other surprise, I'm normally based in Texas, so the big snowstorm also surprised me a couple of weeks ago. It was definitely a jarring time.
Oh man. Yeah. Very good. Very good.
So there are a lot of options available for accepting payments on WooCommerce, right? And one of the benefits of WooCommerce is the flexibility that you have to choose one that fits your business. And many of the closed e-commerce platforms, they limit your choice, or they often charge additional transaction fees, which can add up over time. But as an open platform, WooCommerce has a lot of options to offer. So Britni, can you talk us through some of the more popular options?
Of course. So some top of mind, of course, are WooCommerce Payments, which I'll speak more about, PayPal, Square, and then we have a ton more local payment methods and other payment solutions available in our WooCommerce.com marketplace. Happy to kick it off with WooCommerce Payments. So WooCommerce Payments is our fully integrated payment solution for WooCommerce stores. Merchants are given the ability to provide and see a holistic view of their business. It's integrated right into the WooCommerce dashboard. It's powered by our partners and friends at Stripe, and it's really easy to set up. You go through the KYC, which is the collection of information you provide to get approved to accept payments on your store. And right now, it's primarily based in the United States. It includes subscription support, and we're consistently adding new functionality daily. There's no setup fees or monthly fees to use WooCommerce Payments. And our pricing right now is market rate at 2.9% plus 30 cents, which is pretty standard across the board. And we do have the ability for larger merchants to explore, customized rates as well. Some new features that are coming down the pipeline include presentment currencies for stores who have multiple buyers in different locations, instant payouts, so being able to be paid same day as you get sales, which I think is a huge win. And then, of course, global expansion, which is really exciting.
Wow, sounds like there's a lot happening on that side. That's really awesome, Britni.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting, and especially it extending further than the US as well. That's going to be awesome. So I've got a couple of questions for you. WooCommerce Payments is available in core. Can you share any insight into why WooCommerce invested in it?
Absolutely. WooCommerce Payments is really all about providing the best-in-class experience for our merchants. We wanted to give our merchants a holistic and integrated approach to view their business entirely without having to log in and out of WooCommerce, jump into another payment dashboard. We really wanted to give them the ability to check everything and their status of their business all within WooCommerce.
Oh, that's great. I can imagine that being quite time-saving.
Absolutely.
And then, and then what are some of the benefits of using Woo Payments, outside of that, for the store owner?
Absolutely. So obviously, the biggest part is we want to help support your business, as Jonathan mentioned in the beginning. We really want to make sure that our merchants are set up for success. And with that, we see efficiency being a big, powerful tool of WooCommerce Payments. So the ability to save time, reduce hassle and friction, and really just provide you with an integrated experience is really key. We also, have some of the benefits I mentioned above. So instant payouts, for example, is coming down the pipe. We've got new features. We're adding support for Apple Pay and Google Pay, which is exciting. There's a better mobile experience and checkout right outside of the box. And then, of course, knowing our community is such a subscriptions-focused community, the ability to support WooCommerce subscriptions is super key, and it's available now in WooCommerce Payments.
Awesome. And from your perspective,
Okay, that's great.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I had to lag there for a moment.
Sorry, just a moment. Britni, there's a way that people can be notified, right, when WooCommerce Payments rolls out in their country. How can people get notified? Where do they go?
Absolutely. So WooCommerce.com/payments is our hub. Thank you, Jonathan, for showing it. So this will give you all the information and give you a little bit of a preview of what WooCommerce Payments looks like in your dashboard. And then at the very bottom, we have a form for you to fill out to tell us where you're located. Please, 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 I recommend that you fill this out. It's giving us some really great insight as we think about international expansion and what's next for rolling out new businesses and new countries. So we appreciate that.
Perfect. So next up, you'd mentioned PayPal. PayPal has been around for a long time. They're quite popular. That you can see them all over the place, and I've noticed that they're can often be used alongside other options. Recently, they've been focusing on this like pay later concept, right? And it's something that's been pretty significant in terms of it's been picking up a lot of steam recently in terms of what people are using and the value it's offering. I reached out to our friends over at PayPal, knowing that we're going to do this episode, and asked if they could share any insights into it. Because ultimately, when new things come around, new features are available, we want to look at it through the lens of what's helpful for store owners. Does offering something here actually benefit the customers that you're serving and you? And PayPal commissioned a study last year that involved 1,000 online shoppers in the US, ages 18 to 39. And they found that offering the ability to pay later, whether using PayPal or anything else, just this concept in general, lets you like attract new customers. They found that 64% of the folks who completed the study were more likely to make a purchase at a retailer that offered interest-free payment options. It also lets you grow your average order value. When businesses with pay over time messaging on their website, when they made use of that, they saw a 56% increase in overall order value. And then it's also a factor in reducing cart abandonment. So I appreciated that they shared that. And in general, when we think about ways to reduce friction, because that's the heart of this, right? Like if you offer different types of options for your customers, you can help reduce that friction. And especially for larger purchases is where I imagine this comes in the most. Giving the ability to let them pay later, and especially with an interest-free option, is pretty powerful. So I appreciated them bringing that up. Britni, so PayPal has been a big part of the WooCommerce ecosystem for a long time. They recently introduced a new plugin. Could you talk us through that and what makes this different, and just sort of your general guidance and what recommendations for folks that are interested in working with PayPal?
Absolutely. So as Jonathan mentioned, PayPal has been a friend of WooCommerce for many, many years. They're a wonderful partner and provide some top-notch products. PayPal Payments being their latest and greatest plugin for WooCommerce. And some of the benefits include the ability to manage your PayPal Payments experience just through your PayPal account. You can offer a seamless checkout experience across all platforms and devices. And as Jonathan also mentioned, PayPal Payments also gives you the ability to offer buy now, pay later, as well as offering PayPal credit as financing options on your storefront. So consumers can finance their products through installments or overall financing and give them a new way, a new avenue to buy online. Not to mention too, PayPal Payments really untaps the international market as well. So those engaging in cross-border trade, for example, can accept local payment methods such as Sofort, Ideal, and Bank of Contact. And these payment methods are also presented through what's called PayPal Smart Payment Buttons. So if you're in the locale or in the identified region, they appear automatically. So it reduces friction for the merchant in trying to set that up. So it kind of eases that and taps into, again, allowing merchants to accept payments in a variety of regions. And then, of course, oh, sorry, go ahead, Jonathan.
I was going to say, so with the different options that are, because I know there are a few different ones and folks who have been using it for a while. Yeah, what guidance would you have to offer?
Yeah, so my best advice is, PayPal Payments is the latest or full stack technology. So if you're migrating from an older version of PayPal, or maybe you're using a different PayPal extension, I highly recommend you to migrate and update. You'll be using the latest APIs. You'll be able to unlock new features. And then as far as future enhancements from PayPal, all of that will be built on this technology. So it allows you to future-proof your payment plugin and processing. And then as PayPal rolls out new features, you'll be the first to receive those.
One of the things that I've really appreciated about PayPal, because they've been in this space for a long time, but they're continuing to work on improvements to it. And what we thought was helpful to bring up here especially is that if you've been using PayPal for a long time, there's a good chance you'd be using an older version. And we want to make sure that you're able to get access to the best stuff. If you aren't sure and you're not comfortable working with that, I highly recommend you can reach out to like a Woo expert or an agency partner, someone that you've been working with to get help on figuring that out. You're also welcome to reach out to support. We've got a lot of folks at support who can help you navigate that. So that's fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right. So another option that we hear a lot about is Square. So Britni, can you tell some of the things that stand out about Square?
Square is also another friend of WooCommerce. They've been a wonderful partner as well. And Square is primarily known for their point of sale integration. So it's great for stores that have brick and mortar locations, or even, merchants who perhaps are selling at farmers markets and need to be able to take payments through the little card Square reader. In addition to that, Square offers wonderful international support. And then for WooCommerce specifically, Square is also CBD friendly. So we have the ability to power CBD stores through Square. And we recently introduced Apple Pay and Google Pay support as well. So creating, more ways for consumers to pay. Jonathan's showing the CBD page right now, which has been a wonderful experience for our merchants who want to sell CBD in the US specifically.
Wow, that's really great. So I've got a couple of questions about Square as well. So one of the main selling point is the in-person integration. Can you name some examples of people that would be a good fit for?
Absolutely. So many of the brick and mortars that we see using Square's point of sale are in the fashion apparel retail space, as well as food and beverage category. Over the last year with COVID specifically, we've seen the food and beverage category on Square skyrocket. So as merchants are shifting more online, it's been really interesting to watch that on Square grow. Another feature is inventory syncing. So with our Square integration, we have the ability to sync inventory from WooCommerce to Square and vice versa. So merchants have the most up-to-date status of their inventory, keeping their business running smoothly. And then through the catalog and inventory management tools within our Square integration, this helps our sellers manage their omni-channel sales and inventory, and again, prevents overselling, which can often happen, especially given the crazy demands of people buying online.
Yeah, I can imagine. And then can you tell us what's the deal with CBD? Why is that so specific that it gets supported as well?
Absolutely. CBD is a growing space. It has been a whirlwind, but it is, yes. It is a growing space. It's also very complex. Here in the States, selling CBD online is not easy. There are many state regulations that CBD merchants must adhere to. And so Square really allows us to vet these merchants through their attestation process. So ensuring that these merchants who go through the CBD process for Square are legitimately selling actual CBD and not fake stuff. They're not making fake claims that it's curing, disease, et cetera. And they adhere to both the state and federal guidelines, which are very important to the success of CBD sales. And additionally, using Square to power CBD allows you to integrate with our other automatic products, so Jetpack, WooCommerce Shipping, and WooCommerce Tax. So we've just done our due diligence, worked really hard with our legal teams and Square's legal teams to vet this as a approved payment processor for CBD specifically.
Awesome.
Wow,
and
that's wonderful.
I'm going to bring it up again for those who have questions. This is probably, we'll include a link in the show notes. This is a good reference for sort of the latest, like if you're interested in selling CBD on WooCommerce, this kind of brings it all together for you. Fantastic.
It does. It's a great guide. And then it also links to some of our terms and service around selling CBD. So if you're thinking about becoming a CBD merchant, there's plenty of their information there for you.
Excellent. So those are some of the popular options. Stripe is another good example. They have their own integration. WooCommerce in general has a lot to offer. And the marketplace is one of the things I love best about that. There's a lot of options available. Can you talk us, Britni, through just the marketplace in general for what, in terms of the payment options available?
Absolutely. With WooCommerce, and our payments category, we know that there's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all approach for your payments, your payment needs in your business. So we try to find, the best-in-class solutions to cover not only a variety of geographies, but also a variety of features and functionality. So, for example, you've highlighted a firm at the top there. Like a firm offers buy now, pay later, and installments as well. It's good for merchants with perhaps higher price tags, so like furniture, jewelry, etc. When we add new payment partners and payment products into the marketplace, we really conduct a deep analysis in our approach. We look for gaps, whether it's geographical gaps, so what countries are we not serving and how can we support them, or through new features. So we really take into consideration, the ease of the integration for WooCommerce, how the technology itself works, what the merchant experience looks like, and then ultimately what the end consumer experience looks like. We want to make sure that everything is super clear and concise, and really easy for you to get started there.
Awesome. One of the questions we get a lot is people ask, hey, what about this country? What about this country? What's the best way for people to share feedback? I guess first on WooCommerce Payments specifically, in terms of country supports. And then we can, I know we're going to talk about the ideas board, and we can talk about that in general.
Yeah. So there are a few different ways. So for WooCommerce Payments specifically, we have the ideas board. We've been using this not only from the product experience, but just also to see demand. I know that the first spot there is add Malaysian support. So we'll get there sometime in the future. So providing this, it does get used, it does get reviewed, it helps us really get in touch with the community. You can always reach out to me if you're on the WooCommerce community Slack. I'm happy to have a conversation. I'm happy to engage with ideas and take that back to the product teams. And then, there obviously through our support channels too, if there's feedback or ideas, definitely recommend going that. And then you can also reach out to Woo on social too. It gets back to our product teams. Our social team is really excellent at that. So thank you.
Yeah, excellent. Before we wrap up, Noëlle, anything to add?
So one of the plugins that is one of my go-tos that I recommend to clients, because a lot of my clients are not in the US, so we can't use WooCommerce Payments yet to say, but Stripe itself has amazing, very wide, broad support. So often I recommend Stripe, and and it's great to have options for your clients as well. So often I pair PayPal and Stripe to have the recognizability of PayPal, but then other people who don't prefer PayPal, they can, and I've seen great case studies as well about, having those options, and it increasing conversion rates as well.
Yeah, excellent. It's important. It's important to have multiple payment providers and experiences, especially depending on your type of business. You want to optimize for geographical support, you want to optimize for features, and then you also want to cover yourself in case a solution may go down or you experience some sort of interruption. You don't want your payments to stop from processing. So it's super common that we see, PayPal and Stripe together, or a bunch of other payment providers together on our WooCommerce stores.
Very good. So to kind of cap it off from my perspective before we get to the Q&A, there's a few things that stand out to me. Like there's a lot that I didn't know was options before kind of looking through the marketplace and seeing. So we talk about this quite a bit on WooCommerce Live, just the importance of being curious as a store owner about what options are available to you. The marketplace is a great place to start. Be curious and just look at the different possibilities there. Not only payment gateways, there's also like checkout focus extensions. There's a number of things that are available that can help improve the experience that you're offering to your customers. The other thing that I'd recommend is just to think about making payments a priority. Like oftentimes you might just set something up and forget about it, but think like that's one of the most critical aspects of the overall experience that you're offering to your customers. Be always looking for ways to make that smoother, to reduce the friction. I'd recommend looking at it at least on an annual basis, because it's one of those things that often you can sort of get set up and like, oh, you just focus on other things in the business. So look at that regularly. And then most importantly, stay focused on your audience and be asking that question, like, what can you do to reduce friction for them? What gives them the best experience? Britni, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would agree with everything you said, Jonathan. Optimize your payments like you would your store, right? So there are creative ways to increase conversions via your payment methods through new features and functionality. So you want to make sure that you're always using the latest version of your payment methods. And you have to be and remain open. And then my biggest piece of advice is to make sure you always turn on your logs so that when you reach out to WooCommerce support, we can help you troubleshoot should an issue arise, if it ever arises. So those are my two key points there.
And if you're not sure how to turn on logs, most of that is self-explanatory, and the documentation can explain it, but you're also welcome to reach out to support or ask in the community channels. I agree. That's important to sort of have up and running and know. It's good to know kind of generally how that stuff works. So excellent.
Absolutely.
So we've had a lot of questions come in, but before we get to those, I want to wrap up. This is the finale for this season. It's been fantastic getting all the questions and the comments that have come in. We've had a lot of fun doing this, and it's been great to be able to do this. So we will now switch over to Q&A.